Hello my darlings and welcome. In this video I talk about my experiences with urban witchcraft in a large and crowded city and give some tips to bring magic into your days as a city witch. Let's do some magical crafting. This video is a collaboration with Aurora at Lavender Hazelwood Witches. She's a fellow Southern California city witch living in Los Angeles. She's also created a video for you on city witching tips, and I encourage you to drop by her channel, check out her video, and click on the subscription button while you're there. Her videos are soulful and authentic and very much worth checking out. When you close your eyes and conjure up the idea of a witch, what do you think of? My first thoughts always go to a beautiful green forest or a pastoral scene, bonfires and wildflowers. But let's be honest, that's not really what witchcraft looks like. At least, not for me. There are 10 U.S. cities that are home to over 1 million people. I live in San Diego, the 8th largest city in the U.S., with a population of almost 1.5 million people. My hometown is also one of the most densely populated cities in the U.S., with an average of 4,400 people for every square mile. Over 80% of the U.S. population lives in urban areas, and over half of the world's population lives in cities. It's very likely that if you're watching this, you're a city witch just like me. There are pros and cons to being a city witch, but since most of us live in a city of some size, we have to make the best of it. So here are 3 tips for city witches. My first tip for city witches is to find or create a place of power and inspiration. This is somewhere you can go to get recharged when you're feeling tired or uninspired. A place that makes you feel energized or calms your mind. This place could inspire you to do magic, or be a place where meditation or divination comes more easily. This can be a quiet space where few people go, or a bustling, noisy place filled with energy and emotions. This is your place of power and inspiration, and you decide. My place of power and inspiration is a little bit of all of those things. It's called Balboa Park, and depending on the day and the location in the park, the energy can be quiet and meditative, or crowded and bustling. I'll give you an example. The world-famous San Diego Zoo is in Balboa Park, and as you might imagine, the energy there on an afternoon during summer vacation is pretty frenetic. Moms and dads with strollers and young kids, tourists trying to figure out the ticket lines and kiosks, and locals adding to the crowd. But not 20 steps away from the noisy zoo entrance, you can step into a beautiful, shaded area filled with lush hibiscus bushes and palm trees and meet a friend. This little green anole was a bit annoyed to see me at first, flashing me a few pink neck puffs to let me know I was in his territory. But eventually he realized I was not going to bother him, and he relaxed and even became curious and approached me to get a closer look. This encounter would lead me to believe that today might be filled with a bit of lizard energy, as I like to keep an eye out for birds and animals during my day as a method of divination. Eventually, I moved on, taking the time to admire the hibiscus flowers and the lilies. There are so many things to do and see at the park, and I choose my activities carefully based on the energy I want around me. Because there are so many people around me, I can use the energy of the city to my benefit. For example, if I want to bring my energy up, I can stroll among the crowds at the zoo, or sit and watch the carousel take excited children on a fairy tale ride filled with ostriches, zebras, and even dragons. If I want a much more chill vibe, it's over to the rose garden that I take myself. One of the least crowded places in the park and almost a hidden gem. Imagine strolling through thousands of roses, the sweet floral scents wafting over you as each breeze blows. It's usually just me and the squirrels enjoying the view. Though this little fellow was enjoying more than the view. He was enjoying a lunchtime snack of rose hips and rose petals. This is the perfect place to get away from the crowds and spend some time meditating in the perfumed air on a bench in the shade, or even bring your lunch to the covered colonnade. But the most powerful place of inspiration is located just past the ancient fig tree, among whose roots I used to play as a child. Long since fenced off to protect those roots, I still remember the picnics on the lawn and the bravest children climbing in the branches. This is my place of personal power and inspiration because I'm an art witch at my core. The Spanish Village Art Center is not the most popular tourist attraction in the park, but it's my favorite. The colorful painted cobblestones invite you to explore further. My favorite activity is to simply sit at a table or on a bench in the center of the plaza. There, I'm surrounded by creativity and arts and crafts. The Potter's Guild and the Sculptor's Guild are here, and the Mineral and Gem Society. Painters, sculptors, metalsmiths, jewelry designers, clay artists, photographers. The energy and creativity of over 200 artists resides in this small village, a place of power for an art witch indeed. My second tip for city witches is to try some city foraging. As city witches, we may not be able to pop into the forest and pick some acorns or mushrooms for our spell work. But city foraging is something that can be done in any urban environment. Whether you're foraging for spell components in a local park or on a hike or in nature, or finding spices, herbs, or produce at a farmer's market, neighborhood co-op, or grocery store to use in your kitchen witchery. I'm working on a video for a red salt recipe for use in love spell work. And so I was keeping my eye out for any ingredients I might find around town for my magical workings. Of course, I knew that I would find fallen rose petals for the taking at the rose garden in the park. And I also know where a few rose bushes are at a nearby lake. I would never cut or pick a plant or a flower from the park, but I consider fallen leaves or petals or flowers fair game when I'm city foraging. If it's fallen vegetation that a gardener is going to leaf blower and rake into the trash, I'm fine with taking it home. The same goes for fallen hibiscus petals and flowers. These flowers are a bit soggy because they've been here for a day or two, but they're no worse for wear as I intend to dry them and grind them in my mortar. The paper-thin petals of the hibiscus flowers will dry in a day or two in our hot and dry summer climate. Only the still unfurled bud will take some extra time to dry. My third tip for city witches is to find a space in nature and spend time in it regularly. I'm lucky to be able to get to a beach, a desert, or a mountain within an hour or less of travel from my home. But let's be honest, if it's not close to home, I'm not going to visit it with any regularity. And during the last few years, I've not spent enough time outdoors. Like many of us, I've stayed home, avoiding people, and I've learned that I really need to get outdoors and spend time in nature again. I started to investigate the parks and green spaces close to home, and I found that I live very close to an award-winning park and campground. Of course, I knew it was there, but I had no idea how nice it was, and I'd never spent any time there. Now I make a visit to nature part of my daily routine. Each weekday morning, I visit the lakes and spend time surrounded by water, trees, and wildlife. I've built this daily visit to nature into my schedule before my workday begins each day. Getting up an hour and a half earlier to make this happen is absolutely worth it to me. Simply getting sunlight on my skin and vitamin D in my system has been an enormous boost. I start out by getting some movement in with a slow walk and some bird watching. There are approximately 230 species of birds at the lake, and many of them breed there. I love to watch the mama ducks with their ducklings and the geese too. There are a few birds I see often, such as the snowy egret, the blue heron, the Canadian goose, the common loon, and several kinds of ducks. There are more swallows than you can count. Hummingbirds abound, and the grackles have taken over much of the central lake, pushing the crows and ravens out to the edge of the park, which is fine with me because that's where I like to hang out. I'll even do some city foraging if I find a feather in my path or a fallen leaf or two. I never know when a broken branch of lavender might be waiting for me to take it home, and so it's always worth a visit to the bees and a look in the planter as I pass by. Walking and fishing are the two primary activities I see people doing in the mornings. There are a few parents bringing kids to playgrounds and the occasional pedal boaters as well. It's much less populated the further from the entrance that you're willing to venture. And so I've discovered a lovely picnic area deeply shaded by live oak trees. I spend time here with a thermos of coffee and a tarot or oracle deck. I like to do a daily 3-card draw and ask a question about my day ahead. Usually something I've been thinking about on my walk. The geese or the ducks keep me company, and there's a family of ravens and a mated pair of parrots who also stop by. Occasionally, I'll bring my watercolor pad and a pencil out with me and work on sketches that will eventually be turned into Book of Shadows pages or planner stickers. Of course, if it's not possible for you to get out into nature because it's not accessible to you for any reason, you may wish to substitute nature videos. You can also supplement your time outdoors with them as a way of bringing nature inside. Watching images of nature has been shown to reduce stress, and I'll link to some of my favorite videos below. Don't forget to visit Aurora at Lavender Hazelwood Witches and check out her video on city witching tips next. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. It's a great channel to follow with some amazing content. I hope I've inspired you to try one of my city witch tips. Every witch's practice and circumstances will be different, and the way you incorporate these ideas will look very different from the way I do. I'd love it if you'd share some of your city witch tips in the comments below. I'd love to learn more tips and tricks from fellow city witches.